Whether you have just begun using the Meta APIs or already in the process of testing and developing, a well-refined Meta developer app is crucial in establishing a good API project. In this video, you will learn the process to complete all necessary requirements in getting your Meta developer app ready. There are multiple approaches to integrate with APIs, including various out-of-the-box platforms available to businesses that offer quick and sometimes zero-code integrations. While some businesses prefer using these types of integrations, some may prefer a more tailored approach involving customized code to meet specific requirements or needs. Regardless of the approach, there is a process in establishing your developer app. First, it is recommended you define your project scope with an ideation and planning process. You should then start to map out your tech setup, and then you could start building and testing your integration. This may involve applying for additional permissions and features, which may include an app review and verification. And lastly, ensure you are routinely maintaining your developer app. Ideation starts from understanding which business operations may be improved and how an API integration may enable this change. For example, you might want to ask, what issue will this integration address? Are there inefficiencies which need to be addressed before starting an API integration? What other tools, teams, and processes may be required? Which programming language is best for your integration? How will the integration be used by your end user? Does your process include transfer of data? And if so, how can this transfer of data be streamlined? What level of security and privacy policy should be considered for your integration? As a partner, a business process team who can identify opportunities within an organization may be best placed to start this ideation process. Only once these are answered should you then move on to the next step. Using our APIs to perform basic functions revolves around the concepts of ownership, permissions, and access. You will need a developer account, a developer app, a user or system user, and an access token to make an API call. Marketing API calls are typically used to manipulate assets such as ad accounts, pixels, or audiences. These assets are usually housed in a business manager and are either owned by a business or a partner. Understanding who owns what becomes really important to mitigate access issues, and a user or system user needs to be added to relevant assets in order to manipulate them. Additionally, a partner relationship may be required in order to share assets across business managers. And lastly, you need to understand which app permissions are required to achieve your end goal, respective to your business use case. Once you have understood these prerequisites, you may start your API integration right away. If you want to learn more about these concepts, please refer to the second video in our educational series for more information. At this point, you may have started your API integration to begin building and testing. For example, you can start small by using a developer app in combination with a short-lived access token to perform some initial API calls. By doing this, you can answer some of the questions posed on the ideation and planning stage by giving you an initial idea of how to work with the Meta APIs. More specifically, the data size limitations and capabilities of the APIs used, the format of the API response data, and if additional processing is required before warehousing, how the APIs may be embedded in other tools, and which languages are best suited for your API integration. As a partner, a software and data engineering team may be best placed to build and test your API integration. Our API developer documentation is essentially a how-to and factual guide for efficiently using and integrating with the Meta APIs. Refer to this documentation for instructions on endpoints, fields, and parameters our marketing API has to offer. If you want to learn more about API call structures, debugging, and developer tools, please refer to the fourth video in our educational series for more information. At this point, you may be ready to grow and scale to a robust, enterprise-wide integration. This is where app review, verification, and contract signing is crucial. It enables Meta to verify that your developer app uses our products and APIs in an approved manner. It is important to note that business app types are not forced to undergo app review. However, for agencies, partners, and big businesses, app review will almost certainly apply. This is because most business use cases may need access to assets across business managers. This will require app permissions upgraded to advanced access, which is obtainable via App Review. In addition, App Review opens an opportunity to increase the marketing API rate limit threshold by applying for a feature called Ads Management Standard Access. An App Review submission includes an app verification which checks if the developer app aligns with your business use case and, if applicable, does not cause a negative user experience. It is also important to note that there may be different requirements for the server-side apps and those that have user interface components. And a permissions review, which ensures the submission only contains app permissions relevant to the business use case. Your API project could evolve over time, or the meta APIs may undergo change. You can always update your developer app by applying for additional permissions and features, accompanied with a valid business use case. You can also repurpose an existing developer app for a new API project. Because of this, it could involve making substantial changes to your developer app assets, such as the privacy policy URL or app icon. This may trigger an app asset review, which involves a re-review process. A re-review is when the developer app permissions are reviewed and may be revoked if it does not align to the business use cases. You should always refer to the developer app policies and submit an app review if your API project is going through change. Based on your submission, the reviewer may follow up and ask you to complete additional steps. Here are some best practices for passing app review smoothly. Only apply for the permissions you need and be specific in explaining each request. Carefully document what your developer app is intended for and attach documentation, screenshots, or even screencasts of the business use case. Ensure your privacy policy URL as provided in your developer app settings are publicly accessible. If applicable, include credentials to a test user account. Make sure these test credentials work. It is important to not provide real user credentials, only test users. Always allow a substantial lead time to ensure your app review does not delay your API project. Not all businesses need to go through business verification. You'll only need to verify your business if you want to access certain Meta technologies, developer features, or the Meta Business Partner Program, and this is a prerequisite when applying for some app permissions. If you see a Start Verification button in the Security Center in Business Settings, you're eligible to complete business verification. To prove your business is a legitimate entity, you'll need to have your business registered with your respective local authority, and you'll need an official phone number or postal address for your business. Business verification is applied to a business manager. After completing, you will be able to link a verified business to multiple developer apps, so long as you have access and permission to do so. If you are not a business entity or organization, but your app allows other businesses to access their own data, you may be allowed to complete individual verification instead of business verification. If you are going to use our APIs and data to provide a service to other businesses, you will be asked to sign agreements in your Business Manager settings. After establishing your API integration, you will need to keep your developer app properly maintained. This is because there may be future changes to the Meta API's ecosystem. API versions may become obsolete. Data volumes and API usage of your API integration may grow over time. App permissions may be revoked in a re-review process, or there may be periodic checks on your developer app. Due to this, it is important to pay attention to developer app notifications and perform regular maintenance checks on your developer app. An admin of the developer app should be responsible for regular maintenance. A well-refined developer app is crucial in establishing a good API project. You can set up your API project for success by following the process in this video and leveraging the relevant teams at each stage.